And Ohtani torches one, tosses the bat, and watches it fly. Tonight, as Schwarber lifts one to deep right field, it's number 300. Indiana deep left center field. It's back. It is gone. Fernando walks it off. Look at this. Are you kidding me? He is back.
Whether it's good morning, good afternoon, or good night, thank you for joining us here on The Rubber Match. My name is Joshua Northcutt, and with me is co-host Blake Flynn and Garrett Jordan. See, I remembered this time. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Starting with you, Blake.
I'm doing good. I'm still not really over what happened last night. I know this is a baseball podcast, but I'm a huge Pacers fan from Indies, and Halliburton getting injured just kind of like felt like a piece of me just left my body. So still not over that, but a lot of exciting things happening in baseball. I know you specifically, Josh, are going to touch on one of those things happening, but just ready now. Always happy to be here.
And Garrett, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, talk about giving 110% of your body for Halliburton there in those finals. I mean, that was what a crazy run the Pacers went on. But, yeah, it's officially summer now. We hit 100-degree heat index just the other day down here in Nashville, and the AC was out in the control room for one of the games I worked. So I probably lost about 2 pounds of sweat for that. Also found a cockroach molt underneath my bed this morning. So that means they're in here and they're getting bigger. So that's always fun.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. Complete opposite of what I described that. But I will say, hey, at least the LSU Tigers are an 8-time College World Series champions now. So there you go. You got to go Tigers, probably somewhere in that wonderful apartment of yours down there in Nashville. But we're going to start things off here with 3 up, 3 down. We each bring 2 headlines to talk about. Everybody can assume, of course, there it is, assume where I'm going to go on that one. After that, on deck, we'll have the rubber match and spotlight stars, just talking about some of the rubber match series, maybe which one stood out to us. In the hole, we'll have possibly the co-host duel trivia. That one might get scrapped pending how long we talk, because there's something I really want to talk about. And then last but not least, we're going to have the Grand Slam Pick'em. The 3 of us made our picks earlier this week. We'll recap that just shortly, but more importantly, we'll look ahead to what's coming up. But without further ado, gentlemen, if you're ready to go with the 3 up, 3 down, I will gladly go first.
Floor is yours.
Gentlemen, Chase Burns is starting on Tuesday versus the New York freaking Yankees. I'm not kidding. I blew up everyone's phone that I knew. I hit the group chats on all social media. There was not one person in my phone book that did not hear about it. I instantly got on the Reds. I bought a ticket out there in right field. Me and my girlfriend are going to be going to the game to enjoy that for a nice little date night. She basically was one of those it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. That's what happened that night. But Blake, I know you've been looking forward to Chase Burns. You had an article out on TWSN talking about this about a month ago, I guess. What are your thoughts on Chase Burns finally starting for the Cincinnati Reds?
Yeah, it almost doesn't feel real. I'm not going to lie. I saw the notification on Twitter and thought that like an MLB Centel account had been created and we were all just getting, led astray. But no, it's actually happening. Actually going to be putting out another one here today. So be on the lookout for that. But, I mean, this is fun. And, I mean, Chase Burns has been killing it in the minors. And now what better way to start your MLB career than against Aaron Judge in the first inning? It's going to be must-see TV. It's going to be one of those at-bats that everyone's going to have their phone out. Everyone's going to be tuning in just to see what he can do. And for this Reds team, the Yankees are one of those teams that we weirdly have success against. So, maybe the formula is here now, bringing Burns up that he can hopefully – not just make a couple starts and then head right back down to the minors, but stay in this rotation, especially with however long Hunter Green's going to be out and where that's going. But I think this is honestly the right move for the Reds. It honestly happened a little bit sooner than I was expecting. I thought they were just going to keep him down a little longer, but I'm excited. I think the Reds have needed this for some time to come, and hopefully it brings a little momentum their way.
Garrett, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with everything Blake said. From the article that I read, it sounded like the Reds GM was saying like this is not just like a spot start for an injured player. They're bringing him up to keep him up. So that's got to be very exciting for all us Reds fans to see and hear. I'll just run over some of his stats real quick. In just 13 starts at the minor league level, he has a 1.77 ERA, an 0.773 WHIP, an astonishing 12.1 Ks per nine, and already a complete game shutout on his young career. So this is absolutely one of the most talked about prospects at that level, and it's just going to be very exciting to see him debut at the ballpark and to see that at bat versus Judge.
I think that's the most fun to think about. Like our buddy that we graduated with, Garrett Jameson, made a comment about why not wait till like the Miami series or ease him into it. No, not a guy like this. You bring him up versus the big dogs and you say, you know what? We believe in you. You can get these guys. And that matchup, like you said, we're not going to have to waste any time. He's getting to go against the best hitter right now in baseball. Outside maybe Kyle Raleigh at Wrigley Field, which we'll talk about probably a little bit later. But yeah, the best hitter in baseball and Aaron Judge, most likely the MVP this year. It is so exciting. And just knowing that I get to be there, I was there, and I hope this isn't the same thing. I was there for Homer Bailey's first game when he made his debut because I remembered the hype of that whole situation. And it's just there's nothing like this. I don't remember the last time we had this exciting of a prospect come up so fast and just catch the Reds fans by storm. Everybody loves him. Everybody's talking about it on Cincinnati radio. And it's going to be basically everywhere, as Garrett mentioned, from social media, the MLB network. Who knows, maybe ESPN will actually talk about baseball for once. Probably not. But I cannot wait until Tuesday night. I just feel like I'm rambling because of my excitement. So we'll go ahead and just move on. Blake, what is your first headline on the week?
Yeah, so let's go from a now current Red to a former Red. Let's look into the week that Nick Castellanos had. It was a very interesting one. Got benched by manager Rob Thompson after making an inappropriate comment. And then he was given, the soap in the mouth treatment, got benched for a game. And then that was on Tuesday, came back. That actually ended his streak of 263 consecutive starts. That was the second highest among active players, only behind Matt Olson. And then he comes back the next day, goes 2 for 5. And then he bats 500 in the Mets series, including in game 1 of that series, a 3 for 5 day with a homer and 3 RBIs. Now we know what goes into Nick Castellanos hitting the home run. A couple of things might have been the influence there, one with the Cardinals announcer and another I'm sure we already know. But just a wild week for a guy like Nick Castellanos. But honestly, good to see someone come back from something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to say honestly, we obviously don't know the in-depth of what all was said or done that upset the manager. But I want to say his benching ended his 260-something game consecutive streak. And now I get it. That's no Cal Ripken. But in 2025, nobody plays that many games in a row. And to bench him and try to send a lesson, nah. You know how you really send a lesson, gentlemen? You trade him back to the Reds. That's how they should send the message. Garrett, what are your thoughts?
No, I think you and Blake kind of hit on it, everything that I was going to touch on. I mean, it was shocking to see him kind of get handled with like a second grader almost. Like, boo, you said something bad, slap on the wrist, Like, there's your 263 game streak gone. So it was very confusing to see happen, but glad to see he was able to bounce back against a very pivotal series against the Mets.
All right, Garrett, moving on to yours.
Yeah,
What's your headline?
so player I want to highlight for this is Nolan Arenado. He becomes the 7th player in MLB history to get 350 home runs and 10 gold gloves. He joins an exclusive club of Johnny Bench, Mike Schmidt, Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Andrew Jones, and Al Kaline as being the only other players to achieve that feat. I believe 5 of those 6 guys are in the Hall of Fame. So Arenado is probably quickly on his way there. And actually right now he is one of the only other 6 active players with 350 home runs, the others being Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Trout, Paul Goldschmidt, Manny Machado, and Freddie Freeman, who all kind of have an argument for getting into the Hall of Fame. So I think Nolan Arenado's earlier achievements may have been overshadowed by the fact that he was playing for the Rockies, but now that he's with the Cards, we're starting to see his talents really shine on a team that's been historically very good. So props to Nolan Arenado for continuing to just slug it out.
I think that's what I was going to add in there is like a lot of people didn't realize how good he was because the Coors effect, kind of like how a lot of people looked at Todd Hilton, Larry Walker. But when some of these guys leave Coors and still are able to do what they're doing, Nolan Arenado 100% is a future Hall of Famer, just like Scott Rowland was. Because in my opinion, Arenado is better than Scott Rowland, and if Scott Rowland can find his way to Cooperstown, Arenado will someday also. Blake, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think not only with the fact that he was playing in Coors Field for the beginning of his career, I think Arenado has always been a guy that we've always looked at his glove, but I guess never truly appreciated his bat. I mean, like you touched on it, Garrett, that is an elite list of people to be with, and there's some names that carry weight on that list, and to do something like that and join that fraternity is hard to do, and not the easiest thing in the world to have happen. So I think him, like you've said, now that he's kind of left the Rockies, I guess we all kind of was like, okay, well, maybe he won't do that because he's not playing Coors Field for most of the games of the year. But still, I think a good thing to see. Obviously, the Arenado experiment hasn't worked the best way the Cardinals would have wanted, but still good to see someone like Arenado playing at an elite level.
No doubt about it. My other headline is one that just kind of happened about an hour ago. We've talked about the Blue Jays in the beginning of the month, whether they'll be able to hang around, and almost through the month of June, and they're still within 5 games of the Yankees. But they're getting Max Scherzer back this week and getting the start on Wednesday. Anytime you can add a player like Max Scherzer, even though he's not prime Max Scherzer, is going to be very good as you try to push forward into October. Garrett, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this is obviously going to bolster the Blue Jays rotation at a time where I think they might be needing him a little bit, especially with the fact I think this past weekend they lost a series to the Chicago White Sox. So they had a lot of momentum going into this weekend and kind of fumbled a little bit there towards the end. So it'll be nice to see Scherzer rejoin that rotation along with Jose Barrios and just like anchor down that top.
Blake?
Yeah, Max Scherzer, obviously, again, not in his prime from, 2013 to 2021. Obviously, he's a different player now. He's a lot older. He's kind of bounced around a couple of teams, but still, like you both have mentioned, huge for the Blue Jays to get back a piece like Scherzer. He's appeared in 1 game so far, got a little rock there, and last year only played in 9 games, put up almost an ERA of 4. So again, like we said, clearly not the player, but he's still one of the all-time greats. He still has the ability to go out there and perform at a high level. So again, just hugely impactful for the Blue Jays to get someone like this back to kind of be the mentor to that pitching staff for guys like Jose Barrios, who, while he is still a little older, still, never a bad thing to learn from a great vet like Scherzer.
Absolutely. And then your last headline.
So I guess this really isn't a headline from this week's action, but it's just something I saw on Twitter and kind of wanted to talk about. Someone in the great Twitterverse proposed that the White Sox and Cubs play a series in Rome to honor Pope Leo XIV. Pope Leo is a White Sox fan for some reason, and he actually got caught on camera at Game 1 of the 2005 World Series. And I just kind of sat there and looked at it for about 10 minutes. And I thought of the idea, obviously we've seen a lot of global expansion of baseball, and we've also seen things like the Bristol game, the games at Rickwood Field, the Little League Classic. Do we really want to expand baseball into the Vatican by giving them the White Sox? I mean, I get the touch, but I just think I get it 100%, and I don't think it'll actually really happen. But I just think that's kind of an interesting thing to look at, and an interesting choice of team there.
I don't know if you also saw when he was coming down the streets of his first trip to be shown to the world. I'll be the first to admit I don't follow that. I don't really know how all that works. But White Sox fans there chanting "Let's go," and he turns and points and cheers on with them. The Pope is literally a White Sox fan, and that is just wild. Garrett, any thoughts? And then, if not, your headline.
I mean, yeah, no, it just shows that he's committed through dark times. I mean, he's a fan through and through of the White Sox, and that's a very tough thing to be. I know they've got a mural now of him at Guaranteed Rate Field of that exact shot of him in the crowd at the Game 1 of the 05 series. So, I mean, we already saw the game kind of expand a little bit this year with the Dodgers and the Cubs playing that opening series in Japan. So I don't know if they would do that and consider it part of the regular season, but I think that could be a fun little exhibition game in the off season. Just yeah, why not? Let's go. Let's fly over to Rome and let the Pope watch his favorite team play ball. I think that could be really fun.
If there's any sport though that would punish their players in the middle of the season to be hey, go to Rome and then come back to Chicago next week to play, it would be baseball.
Yeah, exactly. I guess for my final headline of the season, I got it hanging over my left shoulder here. Not really MLB, but going into the college game, LSU wins the Men's College World Series for the second time in the past 3-4 seasons. Cade Anderson had an incredible first game, 130 pitch complete game shutout. His arm probably feels like jelly right now and is soaking in an ice bath. It was enough to give him most outstanding player on the series, and that was followed up by a very good performance from Tigers starting pitcher Anthony Ianson on yesterday's game. 9 Ks over 6 1/3 innings for him. In that game yesterday, LSU was able to get to Chanticleer's ace Jacob Morrison for 5 earned runs over 3 2/3. Prior to yesterday's game, Morrison had only allowed 11 earned runs in his past 9 starts, which, I mean, that's just impressive to be able to get to him in a situation as big as it was. Going into this, Coastal had a 26-game win streak that LSU abruptly halted on Saturday, which that's always tough to lose one of those. I'd say obviously the news about this series was the coach ejections in yesterday's game, which I know Josh has a lot of strong feelings about, and I honestly agree with him. The story that I read is that he started arguing balls and strikes from the dugout, and the umpire kind of turned to him and gave him a half-hearted warning, and then he came up the steps to continue arguing, and as soon as he stepped on the field, the umpire was like, "No, you're gone." And I mean, we all saw the viral clip. It kind of looks like he charged the umpires and knocked one over, but upon further examination, the guy just fell over the other umpire's foot. I thought the coach had some really funny words for that as well, talking about the athleticism of the umpire that fell. But you also saw the first base coach ejected as well, and so now the Chanticleer's coach has a 2-game suspension starting the next season, and the first base coach has a 3-game suspension, that extra game coming from some of the things he said while arguing with the umpires. So honestly, a very kind of sad way to see that series end. I'm happy for my Tigers, but I kind of wish we were able to beat them when they were at, Full Sail kind of thing.
Blake, your thoughts? Because as Garrett says, I do have some things about that umpire.
Yeah, I'll kind of keep it brief because unfortunately I wasn't able to actually watch it. I did see the performance as well as the ejection clips as they were all over Twitter. I was kind of rooting for the Chanticleers because I love an underdog story, even though I wasn't really paying attention that much. But, I mean, when you look at LSU, they've pretty much become a powerhouse of college baseball now. I mean, you look at some notable alum like DJ LeMahieu, Alex Bregman, Aaron Nola, and then Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz going 2 of the first 3 picks in the top 3 of their respective draft. They're a good team, and they obviously know how to build winning programs. They know how to build people up for success in the MLB. So good to see them get another title under their belt. And, whoever comes out of this draft class, obviously they're going to be in a pretty good position going to LSU.
So LSU has been to the NCAA baseball tournament 40 times, and 20 out of the 40 times they've gone on to make the College World Series. And 40% of the time, they've made it to the College World Series, the championship game. That's insane. How good that program has become is unparalleled to anything else that we've seen, maybe in the college game. It is just complete dominance by LSU. Now, as for Kevin Schnall and the Coastal Carolina situation, he explained after the game, thanks to Noah Beanick, 11 Sports. It's a podcast that talks mainly college baseball. He asked him that what exactly happened. So the manager stated he heard that his team got warned. So he walked up and asked, "What did we get warned for?" And the umpire was shooing him away. And he's like, "I'm a grown man. I'm 40 plus years old. You're not just going to shoo me away as another grown man." So I asked again, "What did we get warned for?" The umpire then kind of with a sigh remark stated, "Arguing balls and strikes." He then turned around. He's like, "Well, then don't miss 3 more calls," because he missed 3 earlier.
Right through.
That got the ejection. Obviously, that set everything off. You, in that situation as an umpire, I get one to keep control of the game. But that was not going to affect it. He wasn't face-to-face with you. He wasn't disrespecting you in any way. He had a question, which, by the way, shooing another grown man away, I would have probably done the same thing, especially if all I'm doing is asking a question. It was pathetic. Shame on that umpire. Do I think it would have affected anything? Probably not. LSU was so dominant. Shout out also to their third starter / closer yesterday, Chase Shores, 6'8", throwing 102. That's a future closer in baseball, and a good one at that. Let me introduce you to Cincinnati, bud. All I'm saying. But all in all, props to LSU. Garrett, I'm glad you brought it out. I held off on it, so you assumed you were going to talk about it. But we'll go ahead and move on, and the whole point of the name of the show is the rubber match. So there was some rubber matches over the weekend, a lot more than normal. The White Sox in Toronto, Atlanta and Miami, Seattle and Chicago, Boston and San Francisco, Cleveland and Oakland. Cleveland and the A's, Houston and the Angels, Royals, Padres, Washington, Dodgers, and the Mets, Phillies all went to rubber matches over the weekend. So starting with you, Blake, who's one player or matchup you want to talk about?
So I'm going to look at that Mariners and Cubs series, and I'm actually not going to just look at one player. I'm going to look at 3 players, specifically the bottom of the lineup for the Mariners. Consisted of Donovan Solano, Dominic Canzone, and Miles Mastrobuoni. In Game 3, they combined 9 for 14 with 4 homers and 7 RBIs. Solano and Canzone both homered twice in that game. The Mariners won that game 14-9, and then eventually won the series against a really good Cubs team. That now puts them at 39-37, 5 games back of the Astros for the AL West and half a game ahead of the Red Sox for the last wild card spot. Obviously, we know with the Red Sox trading Devers, we don't really know where they're going to go from here. But that was a huge win for them. One that we could look back if they make the playoffs saying that was one of the most important games of the season for them.
Garrett, I'm assuming you don't want to talk Seattle. You do it enough.
Well, I was going to, but I actually, since I didn't get to highlight it in the headlines, I did want to highlight what Cal Raleigh is doing. because he is doing things to baseballs that no other human is doing right now. In 15 plate appearances over the course of the series, he had 6 hits, 4 of which were home runs, a stolen base, and 3 walks to 2 strikeouts. So he batted .500 for the series against the Cubs. I will say it was a weird weather series. It was really windy in Chicago, like almost all of this series. So the balls were really flying. So that may have aided a little bit, but we're not going to see that when we go back and look at the stats. So I'll go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that Cal's doing. He passed Johnny Bench for the most home runs by a catcher before the All-Star break. I believe that's what it was. That home run.
I just want to emphasize also, anytime you pass that man's name, either behind the plate or at bat, you're doing something special.
Yeah. And the home run that he did, it also left Wrigley. It ended up on the street behind the stands. So that's also very impressive. He also passed Mickey Mantle for the most home runs by a switch hitter before the All-Star break, which, I mean, that's a name everyone knows. Cal also joins an exclusive club of players to reach 30 home runs in 75 games, the others being Babe Ruth, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Ken Griffey Jr., Reggie Jackson, and Roger Maris. That is a good list to be on. Rowley is currently on pace for 66 homers this season, and he's chasing down Barry Bonds' 39 home run record prior to the All-Star break. So what Cal is doing for this Mariners offense is just insane, and we haven't seen it since the steroid era of baseball. So it's just incredible. I will say a series that I did want to highlight for this is Philadelphia getting the win over the New York Mets. This was a massive series for the Phillies. The Mets are really struggling right now. They are 2-8 over their last 10. 7-game losing streak that immediately followed a 6-game winning streak. So they've been one of the more streaky teams in baseball this season. I will say that in the middle game, the Mets did tie a MLB record with 7 solo homers, which is kind of absurd. But in that final game, Jesus Luzardo absolutely shoved 6 2/3 innings, 0 earned runs, and 7 strikeouts on 1-hit baseball. So the Phillies have actually jumped the Mets in the standings for the lead in the NL East, which I didn't see coming, and I didn't see coming as fast as it did. The Mets are really struggling, and this was a big win for the Phillies.
Yeah, that was one of the matchups Paris actually picked as his Grand Slam pick'em was the Philly Mets. And as a guy who is very high on Philly coming into the year, being able to beat the Mets at any time is very crucial, especially trailing them in the standings right now, though it's not by much. Blake, any thoughts on that before I give out my matchup?
Yeah, I'll touch on the Cal Raleigh thing first. I mean, obviously, as everything you've mentioned, especially last show as well, because I know you touched on him there, what he's doing is incredible. I mean, last season he hit 34 home runs and 100 RBIs, finished the year with a 4.7 wins above replacement, and he played in 153 games. So far through 75, he already has 31 homers and 66 RBIs. So clearly on pace to break both of those numbers, currently at a 4.2 WAR. So, and again, like we touched with Arenado, joining list with those guys' names is special. Again, hard to do, and elite company for Cal to be in. With the Mets, obviously, like you said, didn't really think the Phillies maybe could ever catch them. Maybe they could just sit around, hang around, obviously take a wild card spot, but now surpassing them was huge for them. And I just want to mention that if the Braves didn't start off 0-8 or whatever they started, had a terrible start, and Acuna was healthy, this could be one of the most fun and interesting division races ever. I believe they're only like 11 games back currently, but you think about if they changed that and had Acuna healthy full-time entering the start of the season, there are 3 teams that are really good teams, that would be really good teams, all 3 fighting for the division win and 2 of the wild card spots. So I think that's a little bummer for baseball there that we don't get to see that. But again, the NL East certainly thriving with the Phillies and the Mets. Definitely one of the more interesting rivalries and matchups to see this season.
So for me, I'm going towards San Francisco and Boston. Surprise, surprise, gentlemen. Not so much the last game, which, by the way, props to the Giants, putting up 9 runs on the Red Sox and winning 9-5, 3-2 in game 2 after dropping game 1 7-5. But as I emphasized all week, I would do, and I did. Rafi Devers came through in game 2 and hit an absolute bomb to give me that home run as I promised, and I told you. So hopefully you followed at home. But it was kind of a quiet after. Yes, Garrett?
Would that have been a home run if they were playing in Fenway?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It's just very interesting to me that he hit one to the shallow part of left field and was like, oh, well, I don't know.
Hey, he got it done. That's all that matters. It was kind of a rough series. Didn't go as well for him. I wanted to bring that up. He went 2 for 12, 2 runs, the home run, 2 RBIs, a walk, struck out once in each game. But that's a big series win right there for the Giants, who are trying to hang around for the Dodgers, stay in the hunt, and also just score some runs. But finding a way to win that 3-2 game on Saturday wasn't too bad either. Blake, any thoughts on Devers' performance over the weekend or just the Giants overall?
Yeah, Giants now 3.5 back of those Dodgers. The Dodgers have kind of slid a little bit, obviously not keeping up the, superior performance maybe we all expected. But, I mean, that Rafi Devers was almost free for him to hit a home run. I mean, it was basically written in the stars to happen. Last week I came on here and said the same exact thing, like it was going to happen. I could just feel it. So definitely a fun highlight to see this weekend. That is a good question there, Garrett. I didn't really think about that if it would have been a home run in Fenway. Definitely going to have to look back on that. But no, obviously these things happen. I forget who exactly it was, but someone came out and said, it's business. I believe it was someone in Boston's front office came out, said it's just business. I'm not upset. Might have been Alex Cora, actually, not upset. Business is business. Obviously still a lot of love lost there, and the Giants more than willing to make the move. So just interesting to see. Good for Rafi to get a little revenge.
And Garrett, any final thoughts before we move on to the Grand Slam Pick'em?
No, just that I'll have some more Giants talk coming up later, and Elliot Ramos is a bona fide star for that team.
Definitely. A lot of those guys are kind of slept on. It's a pretty good lineup over there that just hasn't been producing. But if they get hot, they've got the pitching staff to absolutely be a problem in October.
Yeah, I mean, you're telling me you wouldn't want an outfield of Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Yaz? I mean, that's a solid outfield.
Yep. We will cancel co-host trivia, as I predicted correctly that we went over on time talking about Chase Burns. But moving on to the Grand Slam Pick'em. Last week, it was a little bit of an awkward situation for our games. Blake's didn't go so well. Tampa Bay took the first 2 games. Detroit was able to win the third. Garrett had the awkward situation of a rainout in the middle of it, and they didn't make it up because they were division foes. So they're going to come back and play it some other time. And then we all 3 agreed on my Seattle-Boston pick that Seattle was going to do it. They didn't. Boston won that series going forward. Over the weekend, Paris had the Mets and Philly, as I mentioned. That did succeed. And then I also went back to Seattle, was the Seattle Cubs, and it went exactly as I predicted. So pretty good there. But we'll go ahead and start now with the rubber match pick, which is the first base move. We'll start keeping points in July, I feel like. That's fair. We'll still get a little practice of this and let those people at home learn about it. But, Blake, starting with you, pick a series you think will have a deciding game 3.
Yeah, so I'm going to go early in the week. First match actually starting today. I'm going to go with the Pirates and Brewers. More so just because of what we would get for a rubber match on game 3. The 2 pitchers in that game would be Paul Skeens and Jacob Mizorowski. Obviously, Paul Skeens, one of the best pitchers in the league. And I feel like this makes up for the absolute travesty of us not getting Skubal versus Skeens in Detroit. That was supposed to happen before a rainout canceled that. So this might be the second best thing we could get. The Pirates, for them, they've swept the Phillies and taken games against the Cubs and Tigers recently. Paul Skeens pitched against all 3 of those teams. The Brewers obviously up there in the NL Central. Pirates still kind of struggling. Mizorowski has been nothing but phenomenal in his first two starts in 2 games, 11 innings pitched, 11 Ks, 1 hit, and 2 runs. Almost first game went hitless, and then the second game only gave up 1 hit. So he's just been absolutely shoving for them, something they really need to see. Again, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we first talked about it, Josh, they just have something brewing over there, no pun intended, in Milwaukee that just allows them to get all these good pitchers. So that's going to be my pick for this week.
That is a good one, and we'll go around the horn and make those picks. But Garrett, what is your matchup?
So my matchup I picked for this week, I picked the Houston Astros playing host to the Philadelphia Phillies. These are 2 teams that are at the top of their divisions, respectively, and it should make for a really fun interleague series. First game, we're going to get Ranger Suarez versus Framber Valdez. That's always going to be a fun pitching matchup, I think. Game 2, we get Wheeler versus Houston's newbie, Colton Gordon. So I think Wheeler is probably going to outduel him there and set us up for that rubber match on Game 3, which will feature Christopher Sanchez versus Hunter Brown, which I think that is sneakily going to be the best pitching matchup of the series on a very decisive rubber match. And those 3 games should be electric, even though they are really not related at all interdivision.
I'll tell you now, I want to do Reds Yankees. I do. But I feel like we've talked about it enough. So I'll be generous for those at home who aren't Reds fans, and I'll pass on that one. But I will go the Orioles and Rangers. Both teams, you could argue the most disappointing teams right now in baseball, not quite being able to figure that out. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Rogers, Morton, and Sagano for the Orioles. And then for the Rangers, you've got Corbin, Latz, and DeGrom. Definitely not the most prolific pitching situation there, as both teams are kind of trying to figure out who they are, and you don't get Rocker or Leiter in that series, which is always disappointing, as I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing out of Rocker lately. But the pickle juice, by the way. The
pickle juice, man. Pickle juice.
But it's still one of those situations that those 2 teams can hit. It's in Baltimore, so the air will probably carry it out. And anytime I get to see DeGrom, I'm pretty excited. Moving on to second base, a player and a pitcher of the week. Blake, who you got?
I really feel like I'm just cheating with these 2 picks. Player of the week, I'm going to go with the one and only Shohei Ohtani. I know, cop-out answer, flame me in the comments, whatever. But when you look at who the Dodgers play this week, he is at the Rockies in Coors Field and at the Royals in Kauffman Stadium. He also should pitch at least one of those games. Let me just go through some stats for you. Whenever Ohtani is in the beautiful air of Coors Field, he has batted .407 with 22 hits, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, and 13 runs scored in 14 games against the Rockies. And then moving over to Kauffman, batting .357 with 15 hits, 4 homers as well, 13 RBIs. So I think we pretty much just got a cupcake schedule for the Dodgers here this week, and 2 ballparks that Ohtani has been nothing but unstoppable in. So he's going to be my player of the week. And then again, another cop-out answer for pitcher of the week. I'm going to go with Ryan Nelson of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He will start game 2 in the series against the White Sox. So there you go. Gives it away. He's facing the White Sox. In his career, 2-0 against them with a 1.84 ERA, 12 Ks, and 1 earned run against active Chicago White Sox currently on the team. They have a batting average of 184 against them. So 2 pretty easy layup picks for me, I'd say, given who they're playing. But yeah, player of the week, Shohei Ohtani, and pitcher of the week, Ryan Nelson.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard not to pick Ohtani after hearing everything you just told me. But Garrett, go ahead and give your choices.
Yeah, so I said I'd be talking some more Giants coming up, and here it is. Pitcher of the week, I've got Justin Verlander. He's making 2 starts this week, kind of similar reasoning that Blake said. 2 starts against the Chicago White Sox and the Miami Marlins. So these are 2 teams that are at the bottom of their divisions and have struggled mightily to find consistent offense. So I just think Justin Verlander is going to light up that scorecard and probably get 2 quality starts out of both both of his starts. So I've got Justin Verlander as my pitcher of the week. And for my batter of the week, I'm staying there and going Rafi Devers. The first week has been a little underwhelming outside of that homer against his former team. I think 4 for 20. So that's, do quick math, 200 batting average. So underperforming for him. But I would look for him to have a bounce back week against these two struggling teams. And honestly, if you're the San Francisco Giants, if it's anything less than a 4-2 record after this week, it was a fail. So,
I mean, that is fair to say. I'm going to contradict you all a little bit. And for my pitcher, I'm going to go with their young rookie out there in the White Sox getting 2 starts at home versus Arizona and San Francisco, which I mentioned. San Francisco's lineup's kind of Arizona not having Carroll a little bit being beat up, and then just the mindset of where their season's going. Give me Shane Smith to throw some gems this weekend in his 2 starts at home. He's got pretty good stuff to build on that. And like I said, I was going to go with Fernando Tatis because I really liked his matchups of Washington and Cincinnati. But I'm sorry, Blake, you talked a little bit too much. Give me Ohtani because it's going to be maybe one of those weeks where he has 6, 7, 8 home runs. If he hits a home run every time in Coors Field, would we really all be that surprised? Moving on, we'll go with the series winners. Again, I guess I'll just go first since I went last there. Baltimore, Texas. I'm going to go ahead and take Texas to win just because DeGrom is on the mound Wednesday. Blake, who you got?
Yeah, I'm also going to take Texas. Like you said, Josh, 2 teams that are kind of the more disappointing teams in the league. But I also think the reason that Texas gets this done is because Baltimore is going to be without their star catcher, Adley Rutschman, going on the IL for the first time in his 4-year career. He's been super consistent and healthy. Unfortunately, just caught something here. Very unlucky, but I mean, I write about the Orioles every week in our power rankings, and this is just one of the most disappointing seasons I have seen from a team ever in the history of me watching baseball. I mean, everyone thought I picked them to win the division, and it just hasn't worked out. So I'm going to go with the Rangers on this one.
All right, and Garrett?
Yeah, I think I'll make it a clean sweep and go with the Rangers as well. I sort of for the reasons you all said, Adley being out as well. Also, did you see that collision at home plate between Jazz and the backup catcher? Oh my, Hanley! Oh my gosh,
Scary.
That was a scary.
That
collision.
was, yeah. I'm gonna say that's the best way to describe it. Terrifying collision. Garrett, remind the people at home who is your matchup, and then who you got.
Yeah, sure. So I picked the Houston Astros and the Philadelphia Phillies, and I'm going to go with the Phillies to win this series. I kind of have to because I need the Astros to fall a little bit to give my Mariners a chance to get that division lead back. But yeah, I think Wheeler will absolutely outduel Colton Gordon in that second game, and it'll set us up for Sanchez versus Hunter Brown in the third.
All right, Blake, your thoughts?
This is a pretty tough one. I kind of love this matchup. Definitely one I'll be tuning into. The Astros over their last 10, 7-3, and the Phillies 8-2. Like we've said, 2 really good teams. But sorry, Garrett, but I think I'm going to give this one to the Houston Astros. I think Hunter Brown is just going to outduel in Game 3, and I think that the Phillies have kind of had those moments this year where they get really hot and then kind of have a game or two where they just kind of fall off a cliff. Same thing could be said with the Astros as well, but I think I'd trust Hunter Brown more in Game 3.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to have to go with Houston as well. They're just a really, really hot team. They're at home, and they get 2 of their best pitchers going in Game 1 and Game 3. So with Brown going in Game 3, I just kind of have to side with them. Blake, remind them at home who your pick is, and then the winner.
Yep, I had the Pittsburgh Pirates at the Milwaukee Brewers again, just for the hope that the rubber matches Paul Skeens versus Jacob Mizorowski. I am going to go with the Brewers with this one. I think the deciding factor is just going to be that the Pirates in Game 3 won't have enough offense behind Paul Skeens, something we've seen throughout this year. I mean, guy only has 4 wins and 6 losses and still has an ERA, I believe, under 2. So, I mean, just really unlucky for them. They really need to figure something out, but I just trust this Brewers team more.
Garrett, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I would have the Brewers winning this series. Mizorowski is doing things as a rookie pitcher that we haven't seen in a while. His 11 inning hitless streak to start his career is the longest by a starter since the modern era of baseball. That's 1900. That's over a century. So he's doing amazing. Also, did you see the pitch that he threw to Willie Castro that sat his ass down? Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh, dude, I could not believe that. I've never you don't see that in professional baseball. That dude was.
Castro sat down and contemplated life at home plate.
I'm gonna say he definitely contemplated. Should I be doing this anymore? Should I just retire now?
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, no, I agree with you, Blake. I do think it'll come down to that final match, and I think, like you said, Paul Skeens will just get no run support because the Pirates are horrible on offense this year, and Mizorowski will continue to shine.
As Blake writes about the Orioles every week, I get to be the lucky one who writes about the Pirates, and 90% of the time my article is all about Paul Skeens. And that's not going to stop here. I'm actually going to take the Pirates to win the series, and I think Skeens will be a dealing fool in Milwaukee on Wednesday. But last but not least, we'll wrap it up very quickly with our hot takes. Blake hinted towards his hot take before we went on air, and I'm excited to hear it. So, Blake, let us know yours.
Yeah, I know all of us, especially you, Josh, the most, have been talking about one rookie making his MLB debut this week. Of course, that is Chase Burns. I know we're all excited for it. I saved the headline for you because I know you were going to have a lot to say. I also had a lot to say, but I was just being the nicer person and letting you give that because I kind of wanted to talk about Castellanos and the thought of the MLB playing a game in the Vatican. So I'll save it for my bold prediction of the week. Chase Burns, obviously starting Tuesday against the Yankees. And I think he's going to strike out at least 10 in his MLB debut. I actually was looking back on it, and Johnny Cueto, a fan favorite, the Reds in history, in his MLB debut on April 3rd, 2008 against the Diamondbacks, finished with a line of 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 1 hit, 0 walks, and most importantly, 10 Ks. So I think Chase Burns is going to take on the role of Johnny Cueto here and have a stellar debut in which he strikes out 10.
I love it. Garrett, what's yours?
So I actually did not see this at the bottom of the rundown. It eluded me. So I did come up with one really quickly, though. It is kind of piggybacking off of some stuff that I already said. But my bold prediction this week is that the San Francisco Giants will take the division lead from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that the Dodgers are a little worn out after their fiery series against the Padres, and then I think did they lose that series to the Nationals, or did they win 2-1? I can't remember.
You talking about this past weekend? They won 2-1.
They won 2-1.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, I do think that they will go on this road trip with a little less energy than they've had, even though they are traveling to Coors. And I do still think that this Royals team is a very good team, sneaky good team. And I think they're looking to bounce back and stay afloat in that AL Central and that race for the wild card. So I think the Royals are going to play with some fire. And then I just think based on the teams that San Francisco is playing, they should at least win 5 of these games. So I have San Francisco leaping the Dodgers here.
These are both things I love to see. If we don't see the Dodgers in first place come July 1st, what an amazing story that'd be for baseball. However, Blake talked about it earlier. Man, what would happen if Atlanta could have just got hot and healthy in the beginning of the year? Well, boys, Atlanta goes to the Mets for 4 this week. They've got they face Blackburn, Montas, Holmes, and Canning. I'm saying the Braves bring the brooms to New York, and they sweep the Mets to jump right back into talks in the NL East. They're getting healthy. Yes, they lost Sale, but they got Schwallenbeck, they got Strider, they got Fuentes and Holmes on the mound. I don't know much about Fuentes, but I know Schwallenbeck is pretty darn good. He's had a good start to the year. Strider is an elite type pitcher. And Grant Holmes, not too bad either. Gut feel here. Atlanta gets hot and takes all 4 games versus the Mets. Go ahead, and if you guys got any final thoughts before we wrap things up, go ahead. Blake, anything?
I don't really have much to say. I do want to apologize earlier. Josh, I wasn't making it seem like you weren't a nice person or anything when I said I was being the nicer guy. I just kind of sat back on it as I got the takeover with it, and I was like, oh, that kind of came off wrong. Like, my bad. I didn't mean that at all. But no, I knew how much
Garrett will tell you. Garrett will tell you I'm an asshole. That's fine.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Garrett, any final thoughts?
I was honestly kind of piggybacking off of your Braves take. I don't know if I feel as confident in the Braves now that Sale's gone. I mean, it was kind of like a freak injury too. He was just diving to make an infield play and came up with a cracked rib. So,
what is a 36-year-old pitcher diving for? Don't get me wrong, I love the effort, Sale. But one, they say they're not going to trade you, but you're still probably on the market. And then two, you're 36 years old, man. Leave that to the young guys around the infield. I get the aggressiveness in the play, and I do love it. But sometimes you got to be a little bit smarter. You're 36. You're not 26. Trust me, it's coming from a 35-year-old.
Yeah, another thing to highlight in that series is the Mets actually just sent down Luis Angel Acuna. That's Robert Acuna Jr.'s younger brother. For those that might not know, and I think that might ignite a little bit of anger in RA13. So I would honestly, if I'm not a betting man, but I might take Ronald Acuna to homer in this series. Just saying.
Y'all heard it. Garrett said that Acuna's going to hit 4 home runs every day.
Whoa.
That's all I heard. I just heard it.
Performance each game.
I'm betting the house. On it, Garrett. If my little girls have to go homeless, it's all your fault. But anyway,
yikes.
Just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment. And thank me for helping you win some money. And blame Garrett for everyone losing their house this week. Prefer just to listen? You can hear us now on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, all thanks to rss.com. And don't forget, we're all on major social media platforms. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We are really going to start picking up and going forward in this back half of the year on those social media. So stay packed. We had a meeting on Friday. We all sat down together and kind of laid out goals of where we want to see this go. And we can't get there without you all listeners. And finally, be sure to check out more great shows from the CX Podcast Network. The Restricted Area Podcast with Alex Perez. They'll be filming a basketball final tonight. Again, sorry, Blake, to bring that back up again, buddy. It is an absolute shame what happened to Halliburton, but man, was he giving it all. And he looked like he was going to have one of those historic Game 7s. The North Bench Warriors podcast interview with Rick Broering will drop tomorrow. I'm just finishing up editing that today. And lastly, there is the NASCAR Slide Job podcast with Colton Smith. In there's the latest episode, we break down the Great American Gateway 400 at Pocono, and then we ended up discussing the NASCAR End Season Challenge bracket. We broke down every single stage. It was myself, Bull, and Ben Miller. Colton was unable to join us, unfortunately. But now that's all out of the way, we can finally sign off. So for Blake Finn, Garrett Jordan, and myself, thank you for listening to The Rubber Mesh. Be sure to catch the next episode dropping Thursday night on all podcast platforms and Friday morning on YouTube with myself, Paris, and the debuting Peyton, hopefully. But without further ado, until next time, keep swinging for the fences and go crush this week, folks. Peace.